Howdy ho, everybody. Come cordless. It's Monday night, April 27th, 2026. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters.
It's like going, oh, that's the right wing is responsible once again to kill the president. Yeah, I am actually in awe. I am impressed. I, Zorro, who have seen much in this world, I am impressed.
So are they just playing to people, semi-deluded psychopathic voters? I mean, is
you mean like they always say the right does?
That's
the
right.
Undiluted, zombie-like people that follow everything that their fearless leader says? You mean like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is why, like I say, the irony alarm, it woke me up like a I admire these people. I think that this is a talent that is sine non qua.
They've been talking about right-wing violence for like 10 years, and it never shows up.
No. I mean, I'm trying to think of one example. Let's just use that as a time frame. So since 2016,
yeah,
right-wing violence. What you could include? Well, I guess you can't say Charlottesville because that was both sides.
Yeah,
I mean, both sides of
Southern poverty law paid for it. We found that out this last week.
Oh, wow! Now, I am not a fan of this word bombshell. But I gotta say, that's a good one. I wondered if they were actually always had in the back of my mind, nah, they wouldn't. Come on. And nobody'd be that stupid because they did it. They actually went out there sending their people into to foment the sickness that they deride whenever they get the opportunity to do. And I gotta say, once again, I admire the bastard. I just the sheer chutzpah.
Yeah, but Don, and you're almost answering your own question. Do they care if anybody finds out?
Yeah, well, at this point, isn't there a host of things that the left no longer really care? The statements they make. Look at Jimmy Kimmel. This whole thing, this whole flap. You cannot care and say something as horrific as that. And I'm going to use that H word. That's horrific. Beautiful woman like that, and call her what did you say? An expectant widow.
Yeah.
How messed up do you have to be? Once again, I like to make up jokes and I like to tell them, but that kind of just sheer. Yeah, I'm not going to say. Whoops.
What's going on? You okay?
Yeah. I don't know. You know what? I'll tell you.
You look fine.
My plug wasn't in.
Okay.
Hang on, my computer's rebooting again.
Oh, it is?
What the hell? Yes. And I didn't touch a damn thing. And of course now it doesn't recognize me, so I have to put my pin in for facial recognition. Well,
believe it or not, because of this goofy sound thing, I can still hear you. So, and now you're fine.
Yeah, and okay, I think that was just leftover from the reboot that I just did. So I don't know.
Not that anyone cares. We had significant technical problems before we started here, but we figured it out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So anyway, what the hell was I saying?
Oh yeah, you were talking about Jimmy Kimmel. So let me ask you a question, though.
Yeah.
Seriously, at this point, you're talking about you like to tell jokes. This guy's getting paid like $10 million a year, supposedly, to tell jokes, and he's not telling any jokes. And I mean, he's basically alienated half the country. So if you're Disney or ABC, why is he still on the air?
Well, because it doesn't matter that he's alienated half the country, because he doesn't need. Remember, these guys on numbers. Let's suppose that every night Kimmel had viewers.
It's actually about one
That
and a
ain't
half,
bad.
but yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, if he has siphoned off the gathered together a few 100,000 more of the yahoos that are just so things that a normal society would despise. It's just his audience now is a niche audience, whereas you get a guy like Gutfeld, and Gutfeld, even if it's funny, because as much as he messes with the left, he does mess with the right quite a bit as well. So Gutfeld, Jimmy Fallon, Tonight Show, I think he's a non-entity. Colbert is way out. So where are each one of those people had a lunatic fringe, right? So that lunatic fringe are all siphoning off to Kimmel. So Kimmel's happy because he's probably still got plenty of Gutfeld continues to kick his butt.
Yeah.
The viewers that he's got are bottom of the barrel, as one would say. You know, that's really the best explanation that I can give you.
But you're right though. I mean, he has about 1.5 million viewers right now. Gutfeld has about doubling him. But I guess maybe 1 million is enough. 1.5 million and if replacing somebody like that is hard, I don't know who they get to do it. And then there's a whole ramp. It's like that. Maybe you just let it ride. I don't know. I don't think he's doing his job.
It's a pity that years ago, when they wanted to get when they wanted to know that they didn't get a guy who would have been an absolute genius at this, and that's Craig Ferguson.
Oh yeah.
Craig Ferguson is TV show host I've ever seen. It's a different thing from Carson, who was, the funniest guy. Craig Ferguson is a very multi-talented guy.
I don't know about you, but I see clips of Ferguson constantly from the show. I mean, they were all just so incredible.
Did he only have female guests on his show?
He was a good.
Yes, it sure as hell does.
He was a good flirt.
Yes, but yes, they're always hot females. That he would get.
But Don, you've never seen David Duchovny on that show, too, and it's really funny. They had a sort of bro thing going on there. It's like, I don't know, and it was kind of the same shtick, but it's
funny. My favorite part of that whole show was the damn bunny, Sid the cussing bunny.
Oh yeah,
he would open up the show.
You could make an argument that Ferguson is actually the sort of Carson, even though they had their shticks were completely different, but he was brilliant at it.
Right. Right. No, he was excellent, and the Tonight Show people really made a mistake not grabbing this guy, but that's okay. It won't be the first mistake that they've made in the last 20 years or so.
I kind of burnt out on it too, but that's fine. He had his run. That's good.
I just found this stuff to be pretty fresh, but I mean,
well, I did too. But
the robot.
There's nothing left on the tank.
Fair enough.
Oh, so speaking of brilliant, this who stormed on his dinner. How do you think you
mean O.J. Simpson or whatever other running back you? Trump was totally right. Trump said, "Man, the NFL should sign this guy." It would be the great. Trump would say, "You know what? All is forgiven. I want to be your agent."
That's right.
That's exactly what would happen.
Absolutely.
He'd design a whole show around this guy.
Yeah. But what makes you think he can get away with this? That's the thing I don't understand. Like he's
no. I totally see his plan. I totally saw his plan, because what it seems like from all the reports is that he had whatever his at the ready, and when he got to the point where he got to the guard to say, "Okay, so who the hell are you?" He just hit the door running, and he had 50 feet to just go, and the guy was incredibly fast. So all he had to do was get there, get through the door, and then just start spraying bullets, and he would have killed, any number of people before they finally brought him down.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if he was moving and you have a crowd that's that big, that guy could have done some serious damage.
For sure he could have. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever it was that clobbered him, man, that person, I'm just going to assume it was one of the male agents to be that fast, really just did a fantastic job. Now, part of the conspiracy is, oh, well, how did he get so close? Well, have we forgotten the Vegas shooter? The camped out in that hotel. He brought his stuff in, stayed there for whatever number of, whether it was hours or maybe overnight thing.
Yeah.
The guy checked into the hotel. What are they going to do? Like, okay, maybe we see your bags in case you call it trains and what's next? Cars? Are they going to check? Can't where you can't attack people's civil liberties because of this one horrific almost. So the thing makes sense to me. That's all I'm trying to say. Because he was young, athletic. What is he? 31 years old, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, you got the guns on you. He's got knives, and then the only thing that he's really carrying, I guess, is the enter the place spraying. He couldn't enter that alcove before you get to the actual room.
Yeah.
Because he would have attracted attention outside. He would have had to start from way in his room and assemble it in the toilet. Well, he wouldn't have gotten far at all. So no. I think that the plan went about as well as it for him, because he'd have to. I mean that the rifle was assembled. Whatever it was he was going to use to kill people was already a bag. Well, that's.
If he had gotten in the room, he probably would have killed way more people and probably not the president. That's my guess.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Right at the entrance there, in that mass of people, it would have been very. The law enforcement that was there, the Secret Service, FBI, whoever was there, to pinpoint him and shoot him. If he's moving around, he's in all these people. They're not going to fire until they're on top of him, in which case they risk. So what I understand about the one guy that did get shot, so he was wearing a bulletproof vest, and underneath the portion where he had the bulletproof vest, or probably more likely in a pocket of the vest, was his cell. So it held cell phone and then the bulletproof vest. And then I don't know if people know this about wearing bulletproof vests, but if you get shot, it is much more like the movies and TV represent today, that if you get hit with a sufficient enough round, you're going down. You won't be killed, but it's just like somebody took a baseball bat and hit you. You're going to feel a real impact. So that guy's going to have one hell of a bruise from that thing. If it was enough to put him in the hospital, which it did, that's going to be one hell of a bruise.
Yeah, but like you said, you're not dead,
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So, Jesus, I had a question I wanted to ask you now. It kind of left my mind. What the hell's wrong with me, Don?
Since I'm accustomed to this happening, you trained me well. I was thinking about all the what I've seen of these people that say, these gun laws, they do nothing. We got to take away the guns and be like England. They'll say England doesn't have this, things like that, and at the end they'll say be England, and I say, you mean the place that has a king?
Yeah. Or the place right now that's kind of going down the tubes, but none of the residents have any guns. I mean, I don't know if you've been following what's going on over there. It's unbelievable. It's like 30 people. This is not exaggeration, Don. 30 people a day on average in Britain get arrested for social media posts.
Are you serious about that?
I'm serious.
Really?
That's right. Most people in America don't know about this. But David Straw.
Okay, so let's be like England.
Yeah, well, that's
Let's
the thing,
be like
right?
England.
You don't want to be like England, you know. Not to mention the fact no one ever mentions you know, it's like, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. The guns don't do the shooting, you know. You know.
No, of course, it's absolutely true. And by the way, in case there are still some conspiracy people out there left about this and it being a false flag and all that, so you decide to plant this false flag about the attempted assassination of a president 2 days before the King and Queen of England come to this country. Really? That's your timing? Something that's been set up for months, and say, you know, let's try to kill the king. Let's try to kill the president. And while we're at it, let's invite the King of England here. After these leftist idiots have been going, no kings, no kings, no kings, no kings. I mean, that's some sweet imagination that people have right there.
You know about really bothers me,
you
Don?
won't be adding this one to your list of conspiracy.
You know what really bothers me, Don, is that they say, you know, he's a king, he's a pedophile, he's authoritarian, he's a Nazi, all that sort of stuff. There's never any examples.
No, of course not. Of course not. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot by providing examples of things that don't exist?
Well, yeah.
You know, it's like I listen. We can talk about this, but what I'm still most upset about, and the thing that has been keeping me up at night, is how we send Artemis 2 up to the moon, go to the other side, and nobody thinks to play Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, but
we've been waiting for all our lives.
Yeah.
None of the astronauts knew or cared to do that. This is probably one of the greatest disappointments that I've had in our space.
But there were plenty of memes. I don't know if you saw them. I mean, it's, you know, there were a lot of memes.
No,
there were plenty. There are a lot of it. You're right. The astronauts didn't play it, you know, but a lot of other people have referenced it. So you're not the only person who thought of it, you know.
By the way, so can I assume that you're with the whole thing of playing Dark Side of the Moon on the second roar of the MGM classic Wizard of Oz?
Well, I've never done it. Have you done it?
But yes, but so you know about this.
Yeah, I know about that. But you've actually done it?
Oh yeah.
Does it?
No. Yeah. Yes. And it is pretty amazing.
It does it sync up as well as it? Does it sync up as well as they say it does?
Pretty well. Yes. Pretty well. I think it goes so far. I think it goes just like into just after the witch appears in Munchkin Land. I think it goes about that far. I forgot how long the.
Do you think it's deliberate?
The song is.
Do you think they did? Do you think they did it deliberately on the album? That they actually deliberately synced it up with the movie?
God, I hope not. I just pray that was an act of God, just to show he has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, as if inventing the platypus is not enough, just to show, hey man, I like to be funny too. You know, okay, let me really mess with these people and let me get this Pink Floyd Wizard of Oz thing going. So yeah, I like to think that it was an accident.
So I don't know if you heard this week, but now they're starting to think that the Kraken was real. There's this theory going around now among anthropologists that like 2,000 years ago there was these giant 60-foot octopi, and they were mistaken for monsters. And now, you know, the thing is, you know, the giant squid was unverified for 2,000 years. We only verified it 20 years ago. You know, I actually saw one. You know, so they might be right about this, but you know, supposedly, yeah, this is the Kraken. The Kraken.
Well, but I mean, you know, Jules Verne thought of this 150 years ago, and I tend to believe that the great science fiction writers of decades, gone past, really, they always had a little hint of something. They always heard just the right thing at the cocktail party to say, "Hey, I'm going to put this in the book." So no, we had all kinds of incredibly large things that roamed the earth. I mean, hundreds of thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, they were called dinosaurs. And if the crocodile and the alligator is a remnant of that, if the shark, which can grow up to, pretty good size, is a remnant of that, I absolutely believe that there's some form of octopus that, I mean, I don't know how big it got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you tell me that there was some octopus that probably was, 40 feet, 50 feet long, I go, yeah. Goliath, Paul Bunyan, these guys, while they weren't 60-foot giants, they were probably big dudes, just like the kind that we have met in our various lives. And our basketball coaches all signed up for, to play in high school. But no, Paul Bunyan was probably some kind of like 7-foot plus French guy.
Yeah.
And Goliath was probably something like that, probably like 6'8", 6'9", we know people like that. And David was a boy.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good difference there. Oh, Mrs. Zorro is writing here, so I'm going to send her a message. Okay, there we go.
All right, I'm getting back to this, but I thought this was prescient considering what you were talking about. So Bruce Springsteen has been on this tour and he's been bashing Trump left and right, and he last night he decided not to do that.
Only left.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's right. But here's the thing that this is kind of the least expensive ticket for his tour is $260. Now, this is a guy who built his entire reputation and his entire career on servicing the working man, and now, fuck it, I need the money.
Yeah, exactly. Again, this is to no one's surprise. These guys that get on the highest of high horses and just say, I'm the champion of the working man, and in order to serve you better, I need to get to the top. Just excuse me if I happen to go on your back while I'm doing it, because from the top I can scream your message loudest. I will be your speaker because I am a king.
No kings.
It is to laugh, as Bunny would say.
Oh man, now I know I know years ago, Don, you were tangentially involved in the music business because that's kind of how I know you. But have you been following like the average ticket to see Taylor Swift is $1,000? I don't know if you know that.
No.
Oh, she was.
At least she doesn't come off like Springsteen does as a champion of the.
That's correct. She doesn't.
Poor and oppressed.
That's right. She does. She's not trying to pretend otherwise. That's true. That's true. Even though the majority of her,
she's just trying to raise enough money to. She's trying to raise enough money to buy herself an actual butt. What's wrong with that poor girl?
Well,
what the hell? Does she sleep on her back all the time? Come on now.
Jesus Christ, Don. Well, Don.
I'm sorry, girl ain't got no hiney.
A lot of people think she's quite attractive. Don't you think she's, a lot of people think she's beautiful, but no hiney for you, huh?
No. First of all, no hiney. Second of all, she's basically a plain Jane. The most beautiful girl is the one that you can wake up next to without makeup, all that stuff, and she still looks amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
You just want to go at it all over again.
I know.
That is the absolute.
It's hard to find women like that. It is. It's hard to find women that look beautiful.
Yeah. Well, a hard man is good to find.
So yeah, I got that. Okay. We get to talk about butts. That's great. And I'm an old perv, All right, Don, I gotta run something by you, and I shouldn't talk about this on the air, but I'm going to. I've had this idea for the show about maybe once every week or so running what I call a segment called Part Two Girls, where I would invite women working on OnlyFans to come on, and they could not disrobe because of YouTube wouldn't allow that. But we would basically like spend 8-9 minutes like talking dirty. And I thought, and I run this by people, and most people think I shouldn't do this. What do you think? I need to ask you.
Okay, so let's look at the possibilities here. First of all, none of them know how to talk dirty.
All right.
That's my guess.
Okay.
Of course, I've never
all right.
experienced it.
Okay. All
but
right.
You've got to have a certain amount of cleverness to be able, and imagination to be able to talk dirty properly.
Yeah.
And I just don't see this. I see a lot of ooh, and then as an encore, ooh, and that's probably the extent of it. But now on this Andrew Wilson show, that guy, what is it called? Whatever. Okay,
I'm not familiar with this.
That's been making the rounds of the internet.
What?
And
what does he do?
There's a show that's been making the rounds on the internet. One of the guys is named Andrew Wilson, and then there's another fellow who has a mustache and light beard, and he has these OnlyFans women, and they are dumber than the box the rocks came in. I mean, they can't do simple arithmetic. They don't know what country they're living in, things like that. And every once in a while, he'll get one that actually can string a bunch of sentences together. But this one particular one is so absolutely full of herself and into this pseudo-philosophical stuff that sounds good if you're stupid. If you're stupid, she sounds brilliant, And then she'll start talking to Andrew Wilson, who like knows everything that she's referring to, all of these high philosophical content, and he just buries her because she's a pseudo-intellectual. She's not a real intellectual. So anyway,
so you're telling me somebody basically is already doing this?
I would vote against the idea, first of all, because you're not going to be able to get the kind of conversation that you think you're going to get.
Yeah, but wouldn't the train wreck be kind of cool to watch for 7-8 minutes? I mean, I'm not talking about a long time.
Oh, well, yes, absolutely. I vote in favor of the train wreck. I absolutely do. Anything that can show these women to just be complete morons is I'm in favor of. But I think these things have to be done delicately. You've got to just pick the thing that the sort of things that none of them have ever been subject to, like asking them, how many continents there are. It's been done.
Yeah.
So you'll have to figure out things to ask them to have them talk about that just really make them. Look, I would ask them about the space program.
Oh, I was going to say quantum physics.
I can just see it right now. And you can have them name all the planets and then just wait for them to get to Uranus and see what happens there.
Oh my God! Well, I'm glad I asked you about this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You ask them what it's like circling Uranus looking for Klingons.
Oh my God!
So you know what?
Yeah.
If you're clever enough about it, go for it. Go for it. I'll even help you.
Good. Well, that's good because you're the only pro vote I've gotten so far. I've asked quite a few people about this. Really, you don't want to do this, like.
It's a pro vote with a caveat.
Yeah. I suppose. Yeah. Let me see. I actually make notes when you come on. Let me see what I got here. I think we got to talk about this. And I know we've talked about this before, but you're a former New Yorker. You grew up in New York, and so now they have a communist mayor. So, and now he wants to.
No, excuse me. They have an admitted communist
Yeah,
mayor.
they do. Right.
Okay.
Right. He says I'm not a communist mayor, but then he says I want to retrieve of the entire means of production. Yeah. Okay. That's communism.
Yeah. No, I guess what I'm saying is that your first communist mayor really was de Blasio.
Yeah, that's right. It was.
I mean, he was the first one, but he of course wouldn't, admit to that.
Yeah.
So the groundwork has been laid, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Right. Well, the thing about de Blasio is that he was communist, but he was also completely ineffectual. Mamdani seems.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. I know.
Thank goodness.
But Mamdani actually seems to be able to. He might have the ability to actually do some of the shit, and that's like really even worse.
Well, and aren't we paying for the people that all said that Joseph McCarthy, senator of Wisconsin, was a complete idiot and didn't know what he was talking about? Well, he went off the rails and just went too far at certain points. But you cannot say that Joe McCarthy has not been proven right. They got into the schools, they got into politics, they got into Hollywood. What are the things that we always complain about? And so, since they were in the schools and the universities and the colleges, who have they produced? Since they produced all the people that were teaching us in the 1970s, and then we who didn't see the light by 9/11, producing children that we allowed to continue to eat this stuff. Here are your Mamdani voters.
Yeah. No,
No. This has been well done, well crafted, Democrats.
You're right. McCarthy's looking better as time goes on. Even though, yes, it is now. He did go too far. He put the pedal down too far. But still, the fact of the matter is, it's starting to look like he was basically correct.
Yes, basically, you cannot argue that he was not basically correct.
Right.
He nailed all of the various disciplines and industries where this was going to be a problem.
I have this statistic here that I pulled out of this article, and let me see. This is David Strom again. It's like he's my buddy, and I read him every morning. I just think he's brilliant. But he mentioned in this article, now this is unbelievable, 18% of the entire population of Manhattan works for non-government, nonprofit organizations, and another 13% works for the government. 31% of Manhattan works for liberal stuff.
well, yeah. So there are your people that tip the vote.
Yeah,
those are the ones. This is why New York is done. It's going to be the way that it is. I see no path going back. I see none.
You don't, huh?
Wow. They've really managed on a national level. They've increased the voter rolls through the insanity of illegal immigration. And so right there, you've got a bunch of people who will manage to finagle their way into voting, because the people who want them to vote have been changing the rules so that the illegals can vote. Started in California on the local level. And as we know, all politics is local before it becomes statewide and national.
So, Don, not a rhetorical question. What happens then? What happens to New York City? Does it just slowly disintegrate?
No, I mean, slowly, yes, but it's going to take such a long time, and people are going to be leaving in dribs and drabs. So there's always going to be an equilibrium. There's going to be an equilibrium of the people that need to leave, that will leave, and then there's going to be the folks that will be entering. And you're going to have. Here's the one thing: is that one of the things you could always depend on New York was competency.
Yeah,
you could always depend on stuff getting done.
Right,
okay? And that is now, we have seen on the national level the rise of incompetence. And that's going to start to reveal itself more and more and more in the major urban centers. Chicago is going to be run by people. Chicago is run by people who can't put two sentences together. New York is slowly but surely going to be run by people who can't put two sentences together. And this is going to happen in all the major urban centers. I would love to live another 100 years just so I can see what this country looks like from a not people, but sorry, I can't find my words.
Well,
in terms of what the infrastructure, what infrastructure is going to look like. Because if you think that stuff is running poorly now in those cities, just wait. Just wait. Have you noticed how many planes and crap are having issues? You've got the air traffic controllers. You've got truck drivers who can't speak English who are driving stuff here. We are entering, if we have not already entered, the age of incompetence. It is one of the things that I appreciate so much about Senor Trump is that he wants to go back to a portion in time where stuff ran well.
Yeah.
You know? Is he going to be able to accomplish that? And I don't know, because it's really going to have to take 3 or 4 presidencies of people that may not be as popular as Trump, but can do as good a job. You know, whether quietly or whether loudly. Is Vance the guy? I don't know. He speaks well. I don't, a guy like Rubio, to me, has the kind of fire in his belly.
Same here. I agree.
That's the word I will leave you with. We need to elect politicians that have the fire in their belly, and that also just don't care when people denigrate them and whatnot. They just keep plowing forward.
Yeah.
They don't adjust based on what idiots from the left are saying.
I'm gonna end with the last question here. Do you find it just amazing that people care about social media so much? I don't understand. You'd think that people would understand that. Well, certain percentage of society is just assholes, and they're going to be online, and why listen to them? But people do. Amazing. I just find it amazing.
Human nature. Before there was the internet, what was there? The National Enquirer.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
What was the news? The biggest selling newspaper in all of America, the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
Where you found Martian babies being born in Alaska.
Yeah, that's right.
And people just ate this stuff up. Then there were the ones that were almost like parodies of the National Enquirer, but people read. You know how they say right now, oh my God, you get your news off of the internet. Well, back then people would say, oh, well, I just read the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
And so when you read newspapers like that, when you get information like that, you get a very skewed view of what this country is about, what this world is about. You get a mostly false, insular little thread of what the country is actually all about and what is really happening. Look, I will cite as just a final kind of human nature example. How many planes do you think go up in any given 24-hour cycle? Like a million?
Are you talking
hundreds of thousands
of
airplanes?
Yeah.
Airplanes.
I know the statistic.
So my point.
There's 25,000 commercial flights in the United States every day.
That's all? Okay, I would have thought it was more. But
well, that comes out to about, what is it, 2.5 million a year or something like that? I mean, I don't think it's a small amount, but
more than that. More than that.
No, you're right. It is more. It's 10 million. It's 10 million. You're right. It's 10 million a year.
But my point is that while every crash is horrible, how many times does it happen? And there was a period, and you and I are old enough to remember this, that hearing of a crash was It just never happened.
Yeah.
You know, when it did, it was so shocking. Now, when we hear of it, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, well, damn it, there goes another one. And when we have these issues with the air traffic controllers, I don't know what's going on there. But back to reality, you know, if it was as bad as, if the world were as bad as people thought that it was, there might as well be no point in living, honestly. So your question originally was, you know, is New York going to, you know, what is it going to be? It's not going to be what it once was. It really isn't. The glory days of New York, I'm glad to say they probably happened in the 80s and 90s, and it has been a slow, but I think inevitable slide. And, you know, which is the frog that gets cooked, the one that starts out in nice cold water and it gets warmer as hotter as
well. It doesn't help by the fact that people can now work. Most people can work almost anywhere, you know. So there's that too.
Yeah.
See, there's no reason to live in a big city anymore. I was talking with several of my friends about this offline, about the fact that I expected when the rise of remote zooming turned out, I thought Americans would start moving from huge cities to like mid-sized cities like Sioux Falls or Des Moines or Grand Rapids, Michigan, places like that. But actually, they're moving to small towns, like really small towns.
Small towns.
Yeah, like the small town I grew up in.
Gorgeous girl this Millie, whatever her name is, the one that played in Stranger Things. The girl who played Elle in Stranger Things. And people were asking, so, you know, when are you going to move to Hollywood? And she's saying, ain't nobody got time for that. Man, she didn't want to live in that.
I have to ask, does she have an ass? Does she have an ass?
Oh, man. You know, since her character was so young, I'm a little hesitant to really opine on that, but I'm happy to know she's a bona fide,
you know, Don,
the answer is yes.
I still have half a dozen more questions, but we've been talking for 47 minutes, and I've been trying to get the show shorter. So I'm going to let you go. We're going to end with that. And you didn't have a joke to add, but it was highly entertaining. Highly entertaining. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I miss you, man.
Yeah, same here. I miss you too. You take care. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. You be good. Take care.
It'd help if I turn the mic on. Our thanks to Don Zorro there. Always a pleasure having him on. Very funny man. Enjoy his company immensely. Always has something interesting to say too, as do most of the guests on the show. I mean, god dang. I mean, this is the 342nd version of this program. This doesn't even count the ones we did at Calling News, which is where I know Don Zorro from. I mean, so, you know, we've been doing this about 6 years now. I think we did about 400 shows at Calling News. They were all audio only. And it does seem like the way this is going is video, which is, I'm glad I did this from the start. But enough about me. So this is the Footnotes portion of our show for Monday, April 27th. Enough about the Washington the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting. Enough about that. You've heard enough. You know, I don't blame, especially because it happened late at night on a Saturday. So I can't give Fox News or a lot of these other cable channels, linear television they call it now, I can't give them a lot of crap about this because it was in the middle of the night and people, It's going to take some people like 12, even 24 hours before they know the news. Okay, so they're running with a story nonstop. Okay, so I understand Sunday. I guess I do. Today, I don't know. But then again, to their credit, they didn't run nonstop with it today either. Hold on. You don't want to hear me burp, do you? They arraigned the shooter today. He's on 3 counts. Major count is attempting to assassinate the president of the United States, which can get you lifetime in prison. I mean, I do wonder. And who was it that was talking about this? About the fact that it was Trump himself who was saying, these people may be sick and crazy, but they're not stupid. This guy actually had quite a career going. He was a computer programmer. He was a teacher. He was teacher of the month for the Los Angeles County School District or something like that, like a year or two ago. I mean, what? And I suppose Don was right about the fact. I said, why would you do this? You're going to get caught. But, he said, well, when you stop and think about it, the guy actually had a pretty cogent plan. Well, maybe he did, but he still got caught, Anyway, I don't want to talk anymore about that. What I do want to talk about is now we have Jonathan Lockwood, our military guy here. He's the Jack Keane of Jim Peters and Knight, coming on tomorrow to talk about both Iraq and Ukraine, especially about what's going on in Iraq. And this came down with a lot of the people who are bitching and moaning about Trump not getting shot, about the fact that there's the appearance to a lot of people that the administration is in basically complete disarray on a whole bunch of fronts. I don't see it. People say, the left wants to say that he hasn't planned this war out. No, I actually think the exact opposite. I think they're playing 4D chess. I think I've said this before, but I can't say it enough. I think all these delays and these false starts on all this negotiation and stuff, I think they built this into the cake. For example, guys don't probably know this, but while we've been humming and hawing with the Iranians while getting together to start negotiating again, we sent another aircraft carrier to the Gulf, to the Strait of Hormuz, and that takes time because they only go at 30 miles an hour. So I actually think it's the opposite. I think they've been playing. People say the Iranians have been playing us. No, I think we're playing them, and they're too egotistical to realize that. And also the fact that the Americans have never done this before. We've never played them before, so they're just assuming it's even with Trump being a weirdo, they're assuming it's business as usual, and it isn't. So it's going to be really interesting to happen with the midterms. I'm still predicting, and I am using I'm taking reservation on changing my mind. I might change my mind up to the day before the election, but I still think that actually the Republicans will hold the House. I do, because of all sorts of stuff that's happened the next 6 months. First of all, the war will probably be over in a couple weeks, and not only that, it'll be over. We will have completely replaced the regime there. And there's a good possibility now we will do it without putting any troops on the ground at all. Now, I do think at some point we're going to have to put troops on the ground just to retrieve the uranium that they have for no other reason. I think we're going to have to do it. But we're not talking about 50,000 people or even 500,000. We're probably talking about 2,000 or 3,000 tops. So that barely figures in most people's figuring. That small amount, but I think we are going to have to do that. But we might actually topple this regime without putting anybody there, and we're going to do it through economics. I mean, right now, so we took the Iranian blockade, and we turned around and we blockaded their blockade. Now that's actually brilliant, I think. And by doing that, we've cut off their monetary supply. Now, they were already in really bad straits economically, even before this. But I mean, at this point, people have said that if we keep this up, they only have a couple weeks of money left. And supposedly now, I'm reading on Hot Air, my favorite website, which I don't get paid for shilling for, but it is. I think you should check it out. There's Iranians writing now in social media that things are getting really, really bad. Like, they're about to kill their dogs to eat bad, kind of like Venezuela was a couple of years ago. And that doesn't surprise me at all, because even before this happened, this was alluded to and even referenced in some of these posts that people were making. You have to understand the reason this all started is because the Iranian economy essentially collapsed, and so the money was worthless. It was a type of thing where they had inflation like they did in Germany, like in the 1930s, where or 1910s, where you needed a barrel of cash, literally a barrel full to buy a loaf of bread. It was getting that bad, and so people were saying, "Why should I go to work if I can't make any money?" So they went out and protest. That's how this actually all started, and apparently now it's getting worse. And the regime is actually like publicly panicking at this point. They are going to run out of money, and we're going to shut them down the same way we shut down the Soviet Union in 1992-93 by basically choking off their monetary supply, which also does not bode well for socialism, does it? When you need, once again, you need other people's money, and if you don't have it, you're screwed. So anyway, I think this whole thing's actually been planned out. I think Trump actually planned this out, and no one agrees with me. I don't care. And I right now it'll be interesting to see what happens. But assuming this gets done relatively quickly, gas prices are going to tumble, and other factors that are going to happen here over the next 6 months, especially because people are now starting to get their tax refunds, and they're bigger than anybody expected. I think there's actually a possibility we could hold on to the House. I say we. I'm not a Republican, but I am a conservative. So, that's going to be really interesting. Something happened at the Boston Marathon this weekend that should have gotten more publicity than it did. For the first time ever in history, somebody did a marathon in less than 2 hours, 26 and a half miles. And unfortunately, I did not write down the guy's name. But the real amazing thing is 2 people did it. This guy who came in second place also busted the 2-hour mark. First time ever in history that this has happened. Now, I think if in a normal news cycle, I think this would have gotten more play. But it's actually pretty amazing. I mean, I'm an old fart. People have been talking about this for 20 or 30 years. That someday someone was going to turn. It was like the 4-minute mile, which was busted in the 1940s by, oh God, what's the guy's name? I can't remember now. But for years people were talking about that too. That someday somebody's going to do this. Now it's commonplace, and people have been talking for years and years, decades, about the fact that someday somebody's going to run a 2-hour marathon, and it happened this weekend twice, actually, not just once. So that's kind of cool, but it's interesting to see how the news cycle works, because basically nobody picked up on this, and that's why I'm here, folks. That's the reason I'm here. In the meantime, a 13th scientist that works for the military has been fingered for dying under mysterious circumstances. Guy's name is Matthew James Sullivan. He was 39. He died at his home in Falls Church, Virginia, in May 2024. So this is 2 years ago. He died of a lethal mix of alcohol and 3 prescription drugs and was ruled a suicide. But as I've said, and as many people have said, too many weird suicides, especially from people who proclaimed they would not kill themselves. And the real weird thing about the Sullivan case is that he was scheduled. It wasn't supposed to happen for a few weeks, but he was scheduled to meet to a congressional committee to talk about what he knew about UFOs. So who knows? Now, there's 13 people on this list so far. I've already said one person doesn't belong on the list. That's the guy from Princeton who was killed by a colleague. And we know who that was. We know why he did it. Although his work kind of belongs on the list, the killing doesn't. But the real thing to me, and a guy named Chris Wecker has been in the press, former FBI agent, he says this should definitely be looked into, although his opinion is it's all coincidence. I don't buy that. I think some of it's coincidence. The thing that really bugs me still is the 5 people that are missing that all lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who all basically left their houses and never came back. And in all 5 instances, did not take their cell phones. That I think is really, really shady. The methods of disappearance are the same, the location's the same, and they all work for the same place, Los Alamos Laboratories, which is, I don't know if you know anything about history, that's where the atomic bomb was developed. And that's apparently still the cutting edge technology in the United States is still developed, at least for the military. So yeah, the thing is, when you get cases like this, some of it's coincidence, but I don't think all of it is at this point. So the question is, who's kidnapping these people? And the really weird thing is, there have been former FBI agents online. I should have grabbed some of their names. I didn't. Who actually think it might be us. I do not think, and nobody really thinks it's ET grabbing these things. Although I do have to point out, because this is really, really creepy, that this Riza woman who developed the Mondaloy alloy, she was hiking with some friends in Los Angeles, in the hills of Los Angeles. She was 30 feet behind 2 of her friends, 30 feet, and she was talking to them, and they turned around and suddenly she wasn't there. That's the kind of disappearance that David Paulides writes about in his books. I mean, where people she literally just disappeared, like poof. Nobody actually saw her disappear, but in like 5 seconds, she was there and she was gone. And she didn't fall off a cliff. They've examined that place carefully. They can't explain what happened here. That's really creepy, really freaking creepy. And Paulides has said now, he's actually gone on record saying that, he's gone on record saying that there's, in many of these instances that these disappearances that he's talked about, in retrospect, there have been increased UFO sightings in those areas. So I don't know. I don't think ET gives a shit, because this is all prehistoric crap to them. But that's a really weird one. So here's the deal. It's either the Russians or the Chinese, or unfortunately, maybe it's us. And that's just. It's also would explain why a guy like McClassland, there's no foul play indicated in his home, no entry, nothing like that. Why he would take off, maybe with somebody because he knew them or knew of them. So. Just really, really weird. Really weird. And finally, in that vein, our Avi Loeb, astrophysicist from Harvard, he has said that he thinks that extraterrestrial spacecraft have been found in orbit or have been seen in space by the U.S. government. But his thing is they don't want to talk about it because it would make them look incompetent. So what else is new? What haven't you done that has made you look incompetent? Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Well, this has been one of the previous things that's been floating around for years and years and years. One of the reasons the government does not want to release any of this stuff to the public is because they don't know anything about it. And they do not want to say, oh, by the way, ET's coming to Earth and we don't know how or why or when. They do not want to say that. Too much pride, and also it's their job to protect us, and they realize they can't. And they can't. It's like I saw another story this week about the fact that this weekend, who was it that was saying that the government, well, some pilot was talking about the fact that this Tic Tac thing that he was flying around. This wasn't Fravor, it was somebody else. Saying that this thing, he couldn't keep up with it. He said it completely outperformed us. We do not understand how this works, and it has no wings. So how did it do that? Well, The thing about these scientists that are going missing is these are the people trying to figure out how that happens. That's the really weird part. I mean, one of the women was involved in plasma research, which is a lot of people think that's how these spacecraft are powered. If there's nuclear fusion involved, there's that. Oh my God, it goes on and on and on. There's a Mondaloy thing where this woman, this Reason woman, she made a really uh, good contribution to American science because there's a whole bunch of spacecraft and military aircraft that are using the composite alloys she's come up with. So that's actually pretty cool. But and then you got these guys in the Pentagon. Well, they don't want to say that they don't know what's going on, you know. And that's exactly our late great friend Jazz Shaw told us that all the time. He said that, that's part of it. Part of it is they think the public's going to panic. Part of it is the fact they don't want to give up any military secrets. There's that. There's actually more than one reason. There's a whole bunch of reasons. And unfortunately, and I've said this before, most of them are credible. I can sit here and talk about the fact that ETs are coming here, but I'm nobody. If Pete Hegseth or the president gets up and says it, well, he's somebody. You're going to listen to him. I just want to go on the record the fact that I know this is true. So, and yeah, but yeah, it's like I understand little old me. You're just watching this for entertainment. So, who knows? Now, like I said, tomorrow night we got Jonathan Lockwood's coming back to talk about he's a former Army colonel. He's a military historian. He's written 2 books, one of which is used at West Point. He's a very, very knowledgeable man and kind of goofy character. And I enjoy his company. He's going to talk about what's going on both in Iran and Ukraine, which we don't hear much about Ukraine lately because it's been overshadowed on the news. On Wednesday, Murray Sabrin, our old friend, the economist, is going to be coming back here. He was supposed to be on last week, but his internet connection did not work, which is true of the guests that we're having on Thursday, too. He couldn't get on the internet. But he has a new podcast coming up. We're going to talk about that with him. He's an economist. He has an institute named after him at Ramapo College in New Jersey. So yeah, he knows his shit, I guess. And then on Thursday, Mike Arnold is going to be joining us, and he's an author. He has written about the Christian genocide in Nigeria, which sounds like an esoteric topic, but you got to know about this. Because I gotta admit, I learned some fascinating stuff just studying for this interview. He was going to be on last week too, and he could not get on the internet. I don't know if this was an East Coast thing or what was going on here, but yeah. So that's our shows for the rest of the week. We got a full week coming up. I want to thank Don Zorro again for joining us. Always entertaining, fantastic. I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you get a chance and you're so inclined, like or subscribe to us on whatever platform you're looking at this on. I want to thank you guys for we are showing thousands and thousands of shorts on YouTube and TikTok. I appreciate it very much. We have one short going that has 11,000 views, so that makes me happy. Thank you. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are, and good night to you wherever you may be. We'll see you tomorrow night, folks, with Jonathan Lockwood. Take care, everybody.